So one thing I forgot to do in the other video, the one talking about the shoulder, the last thing you have to do is you have to make a constraint um, to the clavicle. So this control will move the whole arm plus the clavicle as well. So that's one thing I forgot to cover before, because you also need to have that movement because as we can see, the clavicle also has weight on it. So we need to be able to move that as well. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how to fix the orientation of that joint. So for that case, in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the mesh, and we can see that the mesh has a skin cluster, right? Which is what it's supposed to, because it's skin to it. Just for the sake of organization, just gonna name this character. It's gonna give a name to the geometry, and I'm gonna use the same name for the skin cluster. So I'm just gonna name it like that, and then underscore skin cluster. So that way, it's also nice to have that organized in case there are any issues. Then you know what the skin cluster is. This reference, it's the one giving you issues, because then you'll see the name of the actual geometry on it. So the next step is, because we are gonna modify this clavicle, we need to detach the skin, right? We don't want to have any extra deformations. So first I'm going to check the skinning. Just want to see the influences on this clavicle. So I want to check if there is information on it, which is fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to export the influences, and that's where NG Skin Tools comes into play, because it's super useful. I'm gonna open the tool. I'm gonna click. Before I do that, I'm gonna save the file. Okay, so I'm gonna select the geometry, open the tool. Then you need to initialize the skinning layers. So click there, and then you go to File, Export Layers to JSON, and find a location. In this case, I'm gonna just place it in the desktop, and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm just gonna call this Elite Body, and then export. So now, if you check your location, you'll find a file called Elite Body, and this is a JSON file, as you can see. When you activate the NGS skins tools and you click initialize, what it actually does, it creates a new node, Maya, that deals with everything that is related to that skin, right? And that node, you can just type ng here. You need to deactivate first the dark objects to be able to find it, and then if you type ng, you'll see the node here. If you own this tool, Maya won't give you any issues, because then it will recognize the node. But if you give this to someone else and they open your file and they don't have this tool, Maya will give them just a little notification that there is an unknown node in the file, which is not a problem, but just to keep that in mind. What I usually do is I just delete this after I'm done with the whole process. Just delete it, and as you can see now, the tool is back to 0 again. So now that I exported the influences, I can just unbind the skin. So now the joints are not using the skin. So as you can see now, I can move them around. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first make sure that this joint has no incoming connections, or it doesn't have any strains on it. You can see it's fine. So then I'm going to go to the normal Maya tools for joint orientation. I'm gonna make sure that I don't want to orient the children of the joint, and I want to orient in the primary is the y-axis and secondary is the z-axis, I believe. Yeah, it is. So now I'm gonna click, and I also don't wanna reorient the children because they're already rigged and everything. So I think this one can be on. Let's test it out. I'm just gonna save. Let's test it. It gave me an error. Okay, so then okay, it's not working. So you know what? I'm just gonna reopen the file to avoid issues. That's why it's good to save before doing something if I'm not sure. So in this case, the best option is actually unparent this joint. So I unparented this. I'm going to just duplicate this joint. I'm gonna place this joint here. Now this we're gonna delete it after, so it's not important. And then just find that joint again. Here's the spine. So now I'm going to take this one and I'm gonna parent it underneath this one. Oh, sorry, the opposite. The new one, the old one. So we get this similar setup to what we had before. That way I can use this as a dummy joint just for the orientation. So now just do the same again. Now it is oriented, as you can see. Y is following the other ones, and X and Z are pointing at the right direction. Now I just delete that old joint, the one I use for people to have the direction, and now I just parent these ones back to this one. There you go. So now it's oriented the right way, and I'm going to do the same on this other side. So again, oh no, actually for this side, I figured that it's actually easier just to mirror this joint. It's kind of complicated to get, or at least for me, I haven't been able to figure out the right way to get this Y in the opposite direction. It's kind of tedious to get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this joint. And what I'm going to do is going to unparent this one again. I'm going to mirror this guy again and go to the mirror joints. Make sure that left searches for left to right in X and Y, Z. And it's going to mirror the behavior. There you go. Now we get the right clavicle. And I'm going to parent these guys. This one and this one, this one. There you go. Going to activate the geometry again. Be sure, well, it's not skinned, so there shouldn't be any changes on the geometry. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to match then the location or the orientation of this shoulder as we did in the first video. So it matches perfectly this joint. So again, select the joint, then left shoulder, then uh, snap. Now it's snapped to it. And I checked the offset. You can see it's completely aligned. And then the controller is aligned as well. Oh, one thing I forgot was to remove the locator that is inside that controller. So I'm just gonna Control Z, go back, and I'm going to unparent this locator that is later used for the hand, parent it so we don't have any changes on it. And I'm going to repeat that same process. So I'm just gonna select the joint, shoulder offset, and then snap. So now it is aligned. Now I'm gonna repeat the same for the other side. So we have it here, right shoulder, take it, snap. There you go. So now it matches. As we can see, both offset and the controller axis are working fine. If I rotate this in object mode, then we get that nice rotation. Now the way the controller is placed, it looks pretty ugly. So we can go back to the tool, and here in the transforms control we have the rotation option. As we can see, we need to rotate in Z. So X, Y, Z. Let's see, we want to rotate it every 5 units. Let's make it, let me control Z that. Let's make it every 10 units. Rotate it positive way. Till I get something like that. Then this guy is the same. Until I get something like that, more or less. Now you can also place this controller here, so it actually looks better if you want to. You can also do it manually or with a tool as well. So if you want to do with the tool, we know that it's in the Y axis that it needs to rotate 90 degrees in the Y. Let's make a negative. There you go. 90 degrees in the. There you go. And let's rotate it in X. So we now have the more like this. Yeah, it's kind of mirrored. And again, if you want to scale it down, you can always scale it down. Or you can also change this shape for another one. I do have, I added a new one as well here. It's a shoulder pad. So let's say I want to add the shoulder pad in this one. I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna select both of, no, actually this one first. And then find the shoulder pad, scale 1, and replace. Now it is here. You just need to make sure it's more out. It's gonna do the same in this one, but I'm gonna scale it -1 so it's mirrored. Then translate it in X. 10 units. 10 units. Now you have that controller there, and should actually rotate it a bit. I think in this case it's better to do it manually. Just gonna change the yeah, for this video. Just gonna leave it like that. Adding extra time to the video. So anyway, we have now the controller placed in the right location. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the locators that I previously unparented. I'm gonna parent it back. Right, so now we have clavicle and the locators inside. And now the next thing is we're gonna have to skin the geometry back to the same bones. And because we exported the skin, then we won't have any issues. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select the hips joint, and then I'm going to click hierarchy. So it selects all the joints that are part of that hierarchy, right? So I don't have to go one by one. Then select the geometry that I want to skin to it. To skin, bind skin. Make sure you selected joints. The max influence, I actually forgot to check which influence, how many influences you were using. For a character like this, I think 3 should be fine. I'm gonna click apply. And then I'm gonna open again the skin tools, initialize again the skinning, and then you just go to file, import, and then look for that file that we saved before, this one. And here, mapping mode, since it is the same exact geometry, you are going to select the last option that says by vertex ID. and it says here that the source and the destination bird count must match. And because they are exactly the same, they will match. And then you can either keep the existing layers or delete them. So I'm just gonna uncheck that and then click transfer. Now if you check your skinning, you can see it's the same skinning you had before. Lose anything. Now again, I'm going to delete that skin node because there's no need to keep it. And again, I'm going to rename this skin cluster. So perfect. Cluster is there. Now, one thing that I just realized, there's more inputs which are tweaking the geometry, and they're coming into the history of the geometry. I'm not sure, 100% sure if the order of this might affect the way the geometry looks in Engine. Sometimes, depending on the order, it might. So if it does, just change the position of these guys. I just don't remember what there's an option to change this, but if you do have problems, let me know. So as I said before, we had we imported the skinning again. So now everything is fine. We were able to change the rotation of the joint of those joints, and now the next step is to just finish up to recreate those constraints that we destroyed before. So I'm gonna find the FK again, constraint, sure, it's with the offset, go to the right arm, one offset. Now let's go to the eye case, and actually those are located here. I'm going to select the left one and the left arm, apply, right, and the right arm, apply. And the thing I forgot before, which is just to take this control right here, and because the control and the joint match perfectly, I'm not gonna maintain the offset. I'm just gonna do it without it. Click apply, and then this one, click apply. Now if we move this, now we get that nice deformation. Okay, there's one thing I see now, and is that by moving shoulder, it is moving part of the head. So I'm not sure why that's happening. I'm gonna double check and see if that was something happening from before. But again, if I move this, there you go, now the hand is moving. One more thing, it's we have all the joints showing their axis, which can be a little bit annoying if we have all these joints visible at the same time. You could either select the joints by selecting one of them and then select the hierarchy and then deactivating here the toggle. But sometimes you might have, there will be some situations where you have one that is toggle and the other one is not, and then when you toggle them, one goes off, the other one goes on, and like that. So just to turn everything off, I create another button here that will just turn everything off for you in the whole file. And that one you find in cleanup, just click hide all axes and it will hide everything for you. That also is including controllers, because you can also turn on and off the axis of controllers. That will also turn off that for you. And you also have is here in the cleanup, you also have the to remove unused influences. So right now I actually removed one that I found, and there you go. So you have a cleaner rig. I'm actually going to double check things. The next thing I'm gonna do is just gonna click finalize rig, and now everything should be locked. Double check it and select an offset, and it is locked right now. I'm gonna save this file, and I'm going to open the one that is called tweaked one, the first file tweaked, just to double check that the skinning issue is coming from the exporting. Right now I don't see anything moving in the head, but if I move this, okay, then that means that exporting and importing did actually do something on the GPU. Yes, something. Although you have this part skin to something. Sometimes Maya shows influences, but they are in zero, so that's a glitch. So this one's actually zero influences, so there's not a thing there. Or this one, for example, has influence in the leaves, but it could be another glitch from Maya. It is a glitch from Maya, it's zero influence now. Sometimes you can just click replace and make sure the value is in -1 or the 0 and then replace it, but sometimes it keeps showing. I get that a lot. That's really not a problem. I might know what it is. Remember when I was doing the skinning, I asked myself how many skin cluster, how many influences is using. You're actually using 3 influences as well, so it's not that. I think the porting exporting might have failed, and that could actually be because of all these extra modifiers that you have on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to get rid of them. Just going to go to delete all non-deformers, but I'm going to do it here, edit, by type, non-deformer history. Now they're all gone. I don't have the texture, so I don't have a way to test if that actually modified anything in the use, which I'm assuming it shouldn't. I'm assuming it shouldn't, but at least I might be able to export the skin again. So I'm just gonna do that. And to initialize the skin, file export, go to the other file and I'm just gonna call it number 2. And I'm not gonna save this because I don't wanna have those changes. I'm going to open the second version and I'm going to import that. Okay, you know what? I'm getting a weird message here that weight values were found for vertex 100, 807, but mesh only has 799. That's very weird. And I believe that could be because of those same modifiers that we have on top. So what I'm gonna do again, it's delete all non-deformers, so it's clear. I'm going to delete that ng skin before I do anything else again. So I'm just going to initialize again, file, import. I didn't get any messages now, so that could be a thing. Now open that again, import it again. Now if I check tips, okay. So now we can actually see what's the influence here. And yeah, exactly, there's an influence in the head coming from the clavicle. I don't know why in the initial file, you could see that the head didn't have any influence here, but I couldn't find it anywhere, which is kind of odd. So at least now here we can see where the influence is coming from. And what I'm gonna do just to fix this issue is I'm gonna give it a full, make sure that everything else is unlocked, and I'm gonna give it a full influence to the head. Now when we move the clavicle, there shouldn't be any issues. Perfect. I'm gonna try to zero out this, see if it disappears, because it's kind of annoying. It doesn't. Okay, so it's just a glitch. But again, as long as they don't move to animate, it should be good. Okay, this guy does have a little influence here. I'm gonna use that same, and I'm gonna put it here just to make it work. There's something to be careful with because now the spine has, this one is not a glitch. I can tell that one does have influence, a minimum one, but just be aware of this because it shouldn't be like this. There should be, if there's gonna be influence here, there should be also influence here. So just keep that in mind. In general, it's actually pretty good. And now we have this folder working. Do stuff like this. Oh, wait, I see something here. What is that? Got some hidden stuff here now. Okay. So I see there is some hidden geometry in the side. This are these the teeth? Something in there. Yes, but the teeth. Okay, I see that there is an issue with the teeth, and it's either um, missing materials, why it's green, or there's something else going on. Well, I don't have the texture, so I cannot really tell. But I think that's like a shader that is missing. But again, as long as it doesn't give you any issues in engine, I think you're good, and you're not opening the mouth anyway for the characters, which it leaves me like. Then the question is, why do we have geometry there? Those could be deleted just to have more optimized. But again, if it's not visible, should be okay. But one thing here, I can see that it does have some influence. When I'm moving like this, it's coming out. There you go. So need to fix that influence. I'm going to do is I'm just going to select that geometry and check what is being influenced there. So it is coming from, yeah, from the clavicle as we saw. So just to fix it very quickly, just going to select all vertices in the head. This, come here, then just go to head and then just place it and add 100%. That should fix the issue. It's going to zero this out. Oh. Oh, and before I finish this video, one more thing that I added to the tool as well, which I will go through in another long video. It's the option to create quick keyframes, especially for this for a testing of the deformations. Okay, so you know that to the rigging we need to just add some keyframes to have deformations on the rig and be able to tell if the skin is working. So I created this tool or this button here that will add a keyframe every 10 frames or every value every value that you add here. So if you want to have it every, let's say, 15 frames, then you select the controller and you can click set keys and it will add a keyframe every 15 frames, right? So that way you can just make information, right? And because you did it standing in 0, then it always goes from 0 to whatever you did and then 0 again because you have those keyframes. You know what I mean? So it saves a lot of time. You don't have to manually add keyframes. You just click once and then you just need to pose your character, whatever, however you want to pose it. Then if you want to delete them, you just do the same. You just select the controllers that have the keyframes and just click reset, and it will just zero them out and delete any keyframe that they have on them. That's actually pretty similar to what I did for finalizing the rig. So for example, let's say I added these keyframes. This animation here. I was testing the deformations. Let's say I forgot to do this to check if there's any animation, because that sometimes happens to us. Or if you're rigging something very small like the face, you don't see the controller moving, then just think that you're done, but there's actually animation there. One way to test if you have animation, it's if you go to your display and click tag objects, you'll see the actual keyframes in here. That's how they look like, right? That's one way. The other way would be just to, you click finalize rig, it will let you know. It says that it found one animated object. Do you want to delete the animation? So you have the yes, show me, or no. So if you click show me, it will select all the controls that have animation on them, and it will select them for you, and you can right click, reveal selected, and you can see all the list of things that you have with keyframe. I will update this later so it opens actually a window and shows you which controllers are. But for now it works this way. And then you can manually decide whether you want to delete it or not. Or the other option is just click again finalize rig and then click yes, I want to delete them. So what it will do, it will just delete the animation and zero out the whole controller. So you're just gonna click yes and then boom, you're done. Check, there's no animation anymore and your rig is completely locked as well. So again, it will take all the offsets, lock them, all the spaces, and lock them.